All right, in accordance, this is the zoning board meeting of November 6, 2025. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this regular meeting of the zoning board of the Township of Franklin has been provided. Board members, applicants, professionals, and members of the public, please speak directly into the microphones so our recording secretary can properly process minutes. Applicants and professionals, please fill out the sheet on the table. When you've completed your testimony, please call the roll.
Okay, Shipindu Singh asked to be excused. Cheryl Bethia? Here. Richard Prokanik?
Here.
Basim Verdas? Alan Rich?
Here.
Gary Rosenthal?
Here.
Robert Shepard?
Here.
Faraz Khan?
Here.
Faraz, there's a paper in front of you to sign too. Michael Doherty?
Here.
Kunal Lakia?
Here.
And Chairman Thomas.
Here. Minutes, the regular meeting, September 18th, 2025.
Cheryl Bethia, Richard Prokanik, Faraz Khan cannot vote.
I'll move.
We need a motion and a second.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, what are we mumbling?
Mr. Rosenthal and Mr. Rosenthal made the motion, Mr. Rich seconded the motion.
Thank you. Oops. Got it, thank you.
You got the third after.
Alan Rich,
Yes.
Gary Rosenthal,
Yes.
Robert Shepard,
Yes.
Michael Doherty,
Yes.
Kunal Lakia,
Yes.
Chairman Thomas.
Yes. Regular meeting, October 9th, minutes, October 9th, 2025.
Faraz, Mike Doherty cannot vote.
I'll move.
Gary,
Second.
Bob. Cheryl Bethia,
Yes.
Richard Prokanik, Alan Rich,
Yes.
Gary Rosenthal,
Yes.
Robert Shepard,
Yes.
Kunal Lakia,
Yes.
and Chairman Thomas.
Yes. Moving on to the hearing section.
Bob, your mic's not on. There we go.
And Ravinder Kaur, ZBA 24-00011, site plan with use variance and C variances in which the applicant is proposing to convert the existing repair garage into a convenience store, 339 Elizabeth Avenue, Somerset, block 493.01, lot 1 in the R10 zone. This is going to be carried to December 4th, 2025, if you're here for that, and there is a re-notification needed. All right?
Christine, are we getting an extension also on time of decision?
Yes, for this one, they will send an extension.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Okay, moving to the business of this evening. Ukrainian Orthodox Church of USA, ZBA 25-00008, minor subdivision D2 variance in which the applicant's proposing to subdivide the existing lot into two new parcels at 135 Davidson Avenue in Zone B. This was carried from September 18th with no further notification. Do we need to read the other one? This will also involve the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of USA, ZBA 25-00007, D2 use variance, preliminary and final site plan with variance C variances in which the proposal consists of site modifications associated with the retention of certain existing church and seminary facilities at 135 Davidson Avenue, Somerset, block 469, lot 1.06 in the B1 zone, also carried from September 18th. And Syracuse 1950 Easton Avenue, ZBA 25-00009, D1 use variance, preliminary and final site plan with C variances in which the applicant intends to build a 258,150 square foot warehouse at 135 Davidson Avenue, Somerset, block 469, lot 1.06 in the B zone, again, carried from September 25th. And before we start, I believe you wanted to go over some ground rules.
Before we even go over the ground rules, can we get, for the record, attorney for the applicant, and I believe we have an attorney for objectors?
Record Peter Lanford appearing on behalf of the applicant.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Peter MacArthur, 75 Lane Road, Fairfield, New Jersey, on behalf of Svitanok, NYC, Inc.
For the purposes of the record, Mr. MacArthur, can you indicate who you are representing other than that entity per se? There are people who are part of that entity, correct?
That is correct.
Could you, for the record, place their names on the record? Yes,
and may I say in advance, if I don't do the best job with their names, I apologize in advance. Alexander Turan, he spoke at the last hearing. Marilla Havrilyuk, Leon Gristok, Svetlana Malyanova, Nikita Stayachenko, and Yuri Welk.
I'm assuming, Mr. MacArthur, and for purpose of the record, you have advised these individuals that you are representing their interests, and therefore, by doing so as an objector, they are not permitted to speak or question witnesses during that process. That's why you're here.
They had to do it through me, yes. I've advised them as, in writing.
And therefore will not be permitted to speak at any time other than through you.
Unless they fire me.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay. Mr. Bernstein, would this be the proper time to raise some procedural concerns, or should I wait?
Why don't you wait until your presentation per se, if you've got issues.
All right then.
Now that we've got the early preliminaries underway, let's talk about some of the ground rules for this evening. It is my understanding that Mr. Lanford is going to call his various professional witnesses, one witness at a time, covering all of the applications that the chairman has just discussed, to the extent that their testimony applies to the specific application. You will indicate during the testimony where we stop on one application and start on another. Mr. Lanford, is that correct?
That is correct.
Once the testimony of the witness is concluded, it will then be the board's opportunity to question the witness, then Mr. MacArthur's opportunity to question the witness, and then anyone not represented by Mr. MacArthur's opportunity to question the witness. As I believe, for those of you who were here at the last hearing and for those of you who are not, this is not the time to discuss the propriety or impropriety of the application per se. That will come at the end of the hearing, whenever that will be doubtful this evening. The process will be Mr. Lanford will do his various witnesses. There's plenty of seats. Make yourselves comfortable, folks. Once he is done, once all of his witnesses are concluded, whenever that will be, then it will be Mr. MacArthur's opportunity to make his presentations, present any witnesses he wants to present, etc. Mr. MacArthur, just for edification, if you're planning on presenting professional testimony, you're going to need to submit any reports at least 10 days in advance to Ms. Woodbury. Unfortunately, it's
Just for clarification, Mr. Bernstein, would that apply to all of my experts? They would have to submit reports?
Yes. That's actually the law, as you know, in the state of New Jersey, post-COVID, that all
Well, to the
reports,
extent that there are reports, they have to be submitted.
if they don't have, if they are going to testify, they need to have reports.
Okay.
So that includes the planner, the engineer, et cetera, your traffic person if you're going to have one.
Would that also apply to the applicant? Because I don't believe I've seen a planning report from the applicant.
The applicant, I don't know, we have a plan, I think we have a planning report from the applicant.
There's a planning review letter by Mr. Healy. I know that.
Okay. I assume if there's going to be a need for a planner, we'll deal with it accordingly, but they'll have to present at least 10 days in advance.
Fair enough. Thank you.
I will, folks, you're speaking, you'll be asked to come to the mic. You'll be asked to state your name, spell your last name for the record, your address. And you will limit your questions to the witness at issue. If you deviate, I have been given the unenviable task by the chair and the board to stop you in mid-sentence and ask you to please move on to the other thing. All the things I don't get to do at home. So therefore, please understand this is a quasi-judicial board. We are here to hear testimony. There will be an opportunity at some point during the proceedings for you to advise us what you think or don't think of the application per se. But for the time being, please limit yourself to questions directly involving the testimony of the witness.
Okay.
Mr. Lanford?
So, just,
Maybe you
Mr.
could-
Chairman, real quick, I just want to give another just update on the way these mics work. So, again, Bob, so just now, Bob, sometimes too, the mic will turn itself off. So before you speak, you have to look down and make sure that red button, and also, again, just a reminder, so Bob, I noticed your mic was on. When you're done speaking, you need to turn it back off. And the reason is that apparently if there's more than 3 mics on, it like shorts out the system. So, and the last thing I'll say again for the folks that Mr. Lanford's going to present, again, make sure that button is on. The red button is the red light is on, and speak like I am directly into the microphone. These microphones are very directional, so the closer you get to them, the louder they get. So don't sit a foot back. Speak right into the microphone so everybody can hear. Thank you.
Wait
Okay.
a minute. I need to understand something. The chairman's microphone seems to go off after he speaks, but mine stays on. What's that all about?
We're in a home away from home. I can't tell you why. I can just tell you that they are weird. So you have to make sure that the red light is on when you're about to speak.
And you also, I guess we have to make sure that the red light goes off when we're done talking if mine's staying on. Okay, goodbye.
Okay, if we can get started, maybe you could just bring us up to date and then continue with your presentation.
Now it's on. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Lanford appearing on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Chairman, you did briefly outline the nature of the Okay. All right, let's try again. You briefly outlined the nature of the applications that are before the board. As I indicated at the previous hearing, with respect to the site plan for the warehouse, we are only at this time seeking preliminary site plan approval and not final site plan approval. The other applications that we are seeking are the site plan approval for the church on the remaining 13 acres of the church property, subdivision approval for which we presented testimony at the last hearing. And just for the record, at the last hearing, Mr. Miola, who was our project engineer, testified as to the subdivision and testified that it was a fully compliant subdivision. Also at the last hearing, Mr. Zeman testified as a representative of the applicant on the warehouse project, giving a history of their company. Tonight, I'd like to start, well, first of all, before I call my next witness, after the hearing last month, and I had indicated at that meeting that I intended to call Archbishop Anthony to testify. After the meeting, in the parking lot outside the municipal building, the members of the clergy that were at the meeting were in fact assaulted, spat upon, cursed at by certain people who were sitting in the audience. The police had to be called. The Archbishop is 78 years old and has a bad heart. I chose and elected, and after discussion with him, not to bring him here this evening to testify. I am going to call as my first witness this evening David Lonsky.
Thank you. Good evening.
Raise your right hand, please. Testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You gotta say yes.
Yes.
State your full name. You gotta move the mic closer.
Yes. David Lonsky, Lonski.
Mr. Lonsky, you're an attorney licensed in the state of New Jersey,
That's correct.
and you represent the Ukrainian Orthodox Church.
I do.
And can you indicate to the board the history of this property as you are familiar with it based on conversations with the members of the clergy?
Yes, I can. I have a brief statement that includes that information that I think will be informative for this board and frankly for the people, members of the public that are here. Has anybody else been given a copy of that statement you're about to read? No.
It's his statement.
Okay. The Ukrainian
Please make
Orthodox...
sure you keep close to the mic, that's all.
I'll try. I'll do my best. And if I fall too far apart, nudge me. The Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the United States of America was incorporated in New Jersey on September 7th, 1951, as a not-for-profit religious corporation. Its stated purposes are, and were, to erect and maintain a church and to carry out other religious works in accordance with the religious doctrines espoused and maintained by the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the United States of America, and to acquire, hold, and dispose of real property. Its governance of the corporation rests in 19 trustees. Archbishop Anthony served as the chairman of the Board of Trustees. Archbishop Daniel as the vice chairman of the board. With respect to this application and the sale of the property, there were formal actions that were taken. The Board of Trustees, all 19 members, are comprised of the Council of Metropolia. That is, in essence, the cardinals of the church, for those that are familiar with an analogy to the Roman Catholic Church. So the metropolia of the church, all 19 Board of Trustees voted unanimously at a meeting on May 25th, 2024, to enter into an agreement to sell approximately 17.6 acres of land. That decision was recently ratified unanimously in October of 2025, last month, not just before that Council of Metropolia, but all of the Orthodox diaspora and all of the clergy of the church that met last month in a big formal meeting, a big setting. And they were all ratified unanimously by every member present. The officers of the corporation are constitutionally and now specifically authorized to execute all necessary documents to effectuate the sale.
The history of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the USA in Franklin Township. So parcel 1, the first parcel. The Ukrainian Orthodox Church purchased 50.2 acres of land from the former Fisher estate in 1951. The entire purchase price was paid by the church through the Ukrainian Orthodox Church parishes. In the 1960s, approximately 14 acres of land from that parcel was condemned for the construction of Interstate 287. 18 acres were orphaned on the other side of 287 across from Easton Avenue. On the side remaining nearest Easton Avenue, construction of the St. Andrew Memorial Church was initiated with the condemnation proceeds from I-287. The project took 10 years to complete. The other improvements on that property were the original Fisher family residence, which is said to be the oldest existing structure in Somerset County, and is presently the residence of the church hierarchs. The Pokrova Social Center and another small residence for the property manager also rest on that site. The balance of the parcel is a cemetery with approximately 11,000 burial plots. Parcel number 2, and that now is the parcel that we're talking about. In 1972, the Board of Trustees and Sober Clergy Laity Congress, that's the group of all of the clergies, approximately 100 members, approved the purchase of 50.5 acres in Franklin Township from the Heathering estate. Aside from a garage building, the only improvement was the actual Heathering home on that property. In 1974, that house was converted into the St. Sophia Ukrainian Orthodox Theological Seminary, which opened in November of 1975, coincidentally 50 years ago this month. A small chapel is also located in that seminary building. In 1978, plans were developed to construct a church hall for religious gatherings such as wedding receptions and banquets for parishioners. While budgets were being finalized, a developer came forth seeking to purchase approximately 16 acres of the property at the Heathering estate. And that's the land that borders I-287 and Davidson Avenue. The sale was approved, and the proceeds were used to cover most of the construction costs for that church hall. The church hall, of course, is also known as the Cultural Center. The balance of the funds needed to construct the church hall, the Cultural Center, was paid for by the Orthodox parishes and the Ukrainian Orthodox diaspora. In 1988, plans were developed to construct a new administration consistory building along with a library. Those buildings were funded primarily with the proceeds of the sale of the 18 acres that were orphaned on the other side of I-287, and that property was sold to the Rotor Clip Corporation, also located on the other side. That church hall, also known as the Cultural Center, although construction began in 1980, suffered various construction-related issues in that the building did not meet building code. The CO was not issued until almost 3 years later. When completed, a church library was initially moved from the seminary building into a conference room in the Cultural Center. However, due to inadequate moisture control and persistent roof leaks, the library books and records were being compromised. The books and records were removed and housed in the new library building that was constructed in about 1988. A museum was initially designed and approved in a mausoleum which was constructed in the basement of the St. Andrew Memorial Church. However, humidity control conditions proved detrimental to those historical literary collections. They were moved to a mezzanine section of the Cultural Center, where church archives were also stored. The space proved to be inadequate and too small for all of the collections and records. So in 2002, construction began and was approved on the Ukrainian History and Education Building on the front portion nearest Easton Avenue on the property. The plan was developed to relocate the museum and archives from the Church Hall Cultural Center into a new modern building that would also house a new education complex. It is a state-of-the-art facility located adjacent to the administration consistory building and the library complex that are now there. The church went through government approval process to have the new building approved with facilities for religious archives, museum collections, exhibition galleries, a gift shop, educational space, and more, all to be housed in this modern facility. And although the plans were approved and construction began almost 20 years ago, the interior construction has still not been completed for financial reasons. Upon the sale of the now obsolete Cultural Center property, funds have already been earmarked to complete those facilities to house the museum, art exhibits, educational program, and other missions of the church. All cultural material, educational programs, and events now at the Cultural Center building will continue on the site once it's completed. The Ukrainian church, which formerly used the Cultural Center, has already relocated to another New Jersey community where most of the students and their families live. As the financial issues arose for the completion of the new state-of-the-art buildings, the church decided to entertain the sale of the Church Hall/Cultural Center, so funds could be made available to complete the construction of the new museum building. I note that the sale of the property to construct this building that serves the religious corporation's purposes is repeated throughout the history. New sales proceeds, like in this case, are earmarked for completion of the new history and education complex, repairs to the St. Sophia Seminary building, repairs to the consistory administration building, the museum and library buildings, along with several other smaller projects, and also to expand the Pokrova Social Center on the Memorial Church parcel. So there's clearly no intent here to remove this church's history and culture, only to preserve it for future generations. Thank you.
I have no questions of Mr. Lonsky.
Are there any board questions? All right.
I have one or two questions. It sounds like a lot of the money that was used to purchase property or facilities was raised by the church, the members of the church who spoke of the diaspora, and also the many priests that are involved. Were any promises made to the people who are contributing the money?
There's none that I'm aware of,
Okay.
or that I've been told of.
What was that you said second time?
Or that I've been told of
Okay,
by the bishop.
right. Sir, could you sit down? Thank you. Now, when the properties, in particular the properties that are in question here, when those purchases were made, did you represent the church at that point?
So I did not. The first purchase was made in 1951, and the second was in 1972. So I was not an attorney during the.
These guys seem whippersnappers, really, youngsters.
See the white hair?
Yeah. Okay, I guess that's all the questions I have.
Thank you.
Any other board questions?
Yeah, I have one. Is there, and I'm just trying to understand this. If the land and everything was bought from with the money from the people who kind of go and worship there, do they have any ownership in there at all?
They don't, the corporation is the owner.
And his testimony was that the lands that were purchased, part of it was as a result of the monies they obtained from the condemnation from 287, not necessarily from the funds from the parishioners.
Now,
I have a question, if I may. The Metropolia that you spoke of seems to be made up of church leadership, ordained members.
That's, yes.
Is there any, I guess, non-ordained layperson, if that's the right term, for the Ukrainian church that has any input or any representation in this body?
Not in the Board of Trustees of this church, but the Board of Trustees of this church has conferences with additional priests and members of the public, and that one of those took place last month, at which the sale was unanimously ratified by that entire group.
Thank you.
Just one quick question. In regards to the development of this property that's part of the application where the warehouse goes, it's being sold to a, quote, outside group, I guess you call it. Was the same procedure followed for this as for all the other historical purchases that were made?
As far as I understand, yes, but again, I wasn't involved representing them at the time, so I can't speak from personal knowledge, but my understanding is that it went through the same approval process, which is governed by their corporate documents.
Okay, you had something.
Yeah, in 1979, the church sold the 16 acres on the other side of Executive Drive, between Executive Drive and 287, to a company from Maryland, who I happened to represent at that time. And at that time, I know the church went through the same procedures, that they all met, got authorization to sell the property, and then the closing took place. And that's the site that is the IDI site, which this board heard a couple months ago.
So what's happening now is consistent with what's been done before. Thank you.
okay,
Any other questions?
yes. So this is a corporation. So you have corporation bylaws and articles of incorporation.
Correct.
When were they last updated?
I don't know. I'm not their general counsel. I do the real estate work, but I can tell you that I've seen the minutes approving the sale. They've been supplied to the purchaser and the title company, and they feel comfortable that all the appropriate procedures were followed in order to execute the contract and to consummate the sale.
Any others? We'll now entertain the attorney for the objectors.
Mr. Lonsky, were the formal actions taken in connection with this sale, were they memorialized in resolutions
Yes.
pursuant to the bylaws?
Yes.
May I ask Mr. Lanford if you could produce the bylaws of the company as well as the resolutions that authorize this sale?
I don't think the board is relevant to this application. The church signed the application as the owner of the property. I think the board does not need and has never requested anything other than the church signing the application to indicate that the seller has the authority or needs approvals in order to sign those applications.
Well, Mr. Bernstein and Mr. Chairman, I think I'll make a pro offer here, because I think the number of people that are here tonight, okay, this is the most transparency they've had ever since this saga began for them. They've been left in the dark. Last evening I was reviewing the traffic report for this, and I sent an excerpt of the executive summary, which described what was going to happen to this property. And I asked my client, have you ever heard of this before? And she said, no. So I think my clients are entitled, and I think it comes down to, it is a board issue in terms of standing, because I think as all board members, you want to ensure that the applicant has standing to bring the application. And if there was a problem in the process of authorizing the person to sign this contract, who did sign the contract, Mr. Lansky?
I believe it was Archbishop Anthony.
Archbishop who, I'm sorry?
Anthony.
Anthony. And so there would have been a resolution which authorized him to do that, correct?
The resolution authorizing the sale is dated May 25th of 2024.
Right, and
And authorized him to execute documents necessary to effectuate the transaction.
okay, so to ensure that this applicant has standing, I think the board would need to see that, because and it goes down to the definitions of what's in the municipal land use law. When you look at sections 3 and 4, the definitions of applicant and developer. And a developer is defined as someone who's a contract purchaser. So I assume that that's what we would consider Mr. Zeman and his company would be a contract purchaser. However, if there weren't proper authorization for the Archbishop Anthony to sign the contract, well then we don't have a contract, which means we don't have an applicant, we don't have a developer, we don't have an application. So it's a matter of standing, and I think my clients and the public in general should let the sun shine in. Let them see these documents, because I think it's highly relevant to this proceeding. It shouldn't be a secret.
Well, the issue of whether or not the church had the authority or not to sell this issue or this property to Mr. Zeman is really not within the purview of this board. The application has been submitted with an affidavit that, in fact, the party has the right to bring the application. However, this is one where nobody's going to be happy. Mr. Lansky testified before this board as to certain actions taken by the church related to this application. I believe at least 2 resolutions, sir, is that correct?
Like I said, the resolution authorizing it was May 25th, 2024, and there was a ratification just last month.
I'm going to suggest to the board receive copies of those 2 resolutions for the purposes of the record. The standing issue may end up being litigated or dealt with separately, Mr. McCarthy, not necessarily here. But for the purposes of this application, I think at least those 2 items should be in the record.
I agree, and I would appreciate it if the board would share them with me.
Mr. Lanford will share it with the board secretary. The board secretary will distribute and you'll be copied.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. MacArthur, for this witness? You don't have to get up. The black.
Well, I mean, I have a big mouth, but it's not that big.
I'm assuming if you have any other questions, Mr. Lansky?
I don't think so. I think the issue has been resolved. We're letting the sun shine in, and I think that's a good thing. And I think the folks in this audience that are standing behind me, I think that's what they need. That's why they're here. That's why they're here. So
thank you. Does anyone else from the public wish to question Mr. Lansky on what he testified to? I would ask that you please get up and stand by where the photography gallery currently is and come up one at a time. No, not from the, nobody from the audience. Everybody's got to come up to the mic state your full name, spell your last, ask your questions.
Good evening. My name is Igor Kreptik, K-H-R-E-P. That is good. Could you hear me? Good, thank you.
Can we get an address?
Much better than previous time as well, thank you.
Full name, sir, spell your last name and your address for the record.
Igor Kreptik, K-H-R-E-P-T-Y-K, and I'm 17 Majestic Drive, Freehold, New Jersey. I have a few questions about excursus of the history, which was just given to us. And just want to let you know, Ukrainians have a long history in education, and the first ABC book was done in 1574. Church play a big and huge role of actually educating people. They have a lot of school to support. They actually support book printing and a lot of good different activities, which actually raise.
You have a question of Mr. Lansky as to his testimony, sir?
Yes.
Please ask it
Do you mind if I finish my excursus in history first?
quickly.
Okay, I'll do it quick. Anyway, so what happened is when churches was formed, that actually they formed schools in the villages, towns. They filled them with monasteries and different areas to bring education of nation up. They prepare teachers. They prepare actually well-educated.
Question.
Okay, we're here today because we failed to communicate, and church, as actually was mentioned earlier, did not put a lot of light on what they're trying to do. So my question was, with all this history church was presented to us, why or what was done in order to save buildings or areas without doing sales? All actually church to show us, in order to resolve the issue, they have to sell, sell, and sell. And it's much easier to sell if you didn't actually buy it, you know? If somebody else raises money to buy some properties or build something, it's much easier to sell it actually and close or cash in on it. So I just want to know what was done on the church side. I want to see steps, which was done, what they did or they did not do in order to fix it without sell.
Objection, that's not within the jurisdiction of the board to make a determination as to what process the church.
It's clearly under that, because what happened is, what you're telling me we have to sell because of a shortfall on actually church behalf to handle maintenance or upkeeping of the property. I want to see what was done or what was not done.
Let's separate. You don't get to see anything per se other than what's in the public record. If you wish to obtain additional material from the church, that's an issue you're going to have to deal with the church. That's not an issue before this board. To the extent that Mr. Lansky in his testimony can answer that question, I would ask that he can. If he can't, he can't. Or if he's going to be advised by Mr. Lanford not to, that's up to Mr. Lanford. But it's related to his testimony.
I think it goes beyond his testimony. His testimony was the procedures the church took over the past few years to get us to where we are today. The reasons behind their decisions is irrelevant to this board, and I'm asking Mr. Lansky not to answer the question.
I believe so. It's just putting a smoke in front of us, because if you tell them a church has to sell it to fix their financial issue, you better tell us what financial issue is. And do not hide it in the smoke, please.
I think the chairman stated this earlier. I'm going to state it again. The church is not, and I put this in quotes, on trial here. The church is here for 3 applications related to the ultimate sale of property for the purposes of a development. Why the church did what it did, what the church did or didn't do with the money, What the church plans on doing or not doing with the money it's going to make from these sales is not an issue before this board. It may be an issue before another entity, but not this one. So to the extent that Mr. Lonsky's testimony, and he's been advised not to answer, relates to that issue, he may be at some point eligible or able to answer. But we are not going to, folks, we are not going to sit here tonight or any other night to discuss why the church did what the church did. That's not before this board.
But result of this committee, which is you represent, will be covering things what church did. Because they did it, they come to you telling they have to fix their holes.
No, they came here to ask for this board to approve or not approve.
And I put
Land, one of the rare places I get to have the last word. To approve or not to approve the applications they have before them. The underlying issues as to how we got there or what they're going to do after is somewhere else in another forum, in another place, but it's not here.
Okay.
And if you,
I heard you. Thank you.
thank you.
This may not be the place.
Let's start from the beginning. Get the mic closer to you, or get yourself closer to the mic. I need your full name, last name spelled and address for the record.
Name is Yuri Wedmid. Last name W-E-D-M-I-D. The address 1890 Woodland Terrace, Bowlbrook, New Jersey.
Thank you, sir.
08805.
You don't need the zip code. Now, you have a question relative to the witness's testimony?
Yes. Someone asked a question there on the board, was a promise made when the monies were raised for the building of this cultural center? For what were the promises made? The promises made were to uphold the culture, Ukrainian culture in America. And someone said, well, that's not important. Well, I think it is important because that's why all of this started in the first place.
Well,
But I want to go back. Let me just start with that
what's the
point.
question?
Okay, here's the question. We heard a very nice history of the construction projects, year by year. This is what happened in 1979, 1980, 1990, year, whatever. These are construction details that we can look up in Wikipedia. Did anyone put together a history of what the cultural events that occurred in this particular location over the past 40 years, since 1980?
That's not,
No, well,
that's not his testimony. You're right. He gave a timeline describing the construction, the purchases of the land, and the development of the property. That's what your question needs to deal with.
the conclusion made was is that everything was done possible to maintain the culture, the events of the cultural center.
That wasn't his testimony.
That was what?
His testimony dealt with a historical timeline of the property development.
Right.
That's what we're dealing with now.
He made a conclusion that all efforts were made to move things from one location to another location to whatever was required to maintain the integrity of the cultural events that were going on there. And I dispute that. I think that things are just being dropped and they're not being continued. The fact that the construction projects went A, B, C, D, the big gaps are there. And the biggest gap right now is this whole project has been dropped. And
But the reality is,
no one should-
whether they made that effort to maintain the culture is not our issue. As our attorney said, we're dealing with 3 applications for development.
Okay, then they should.
That's what I'd like to limit the discussion to.
But should they strike those words from the conclusion of his presentation? That everything was done to continue it?
The board will take your comments accordingly.
Okay. Good.
you need to press a button? No, that's fine. You hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Victor Voronenko, 11 Sherbourne Street, Somerset, New Jersey. V as in Victor, O, R as in Robert, O, N as in Nancy, E, N as in Nancy, K, O. Voronenko. Good enough? Okay, I have a question to the witness. My question is, the witness mentioned that the church was actually built in 1952. And he also mentioned that the Board of Trustees, consisting of 19 members, something like that, approved all the requests, which are a matter of consideration today. However, does the witness understand that in 1952, most of the members, most of the trustees have been like about 4 years old? And in this matter, I need to know how the Board of Trustees are built, because again, the witness mentioned that the parishioners took part, he called it diaspora, however, I prefer to term parishioners, took part in collecting money to build the church and all other properties on this land. So my question is, are the Board of Trustees, do they really represent the owners of this property? Is there anything in the bylaws saying that the parishioners who basically financed this construction and whatever other things, transactions, are they represented in this Board of Trustees? I expect the answer.
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, but I'll try. I think you're asking who the members of the Board of Trustees are.
Yes.
So
yes and no.
I don't have all their names here, but they're the metropolia of the church. In essence, it's like the cardinals, if you equate it to the Roman Catholic Church.
Are the parishioners in any way represented in this Board of Trustees?
Objection as to the relevance.
It is very relevant because this is a matter of the ownership. The question is, are the applicants have a right, do the applicants have a right to submit this request? Do they really are the owners of this property?
Let me short circuit. This board is not empowered to determine whether or not the parishioners or the Board of Trustees are the applicant. I know Mr. MacArthur sort of raised it, but this is not really within the purview of this board. This board is to hear the application based upon the submission of an application from what appears to be a legitimate applicant. If the parties believe that the applicant is not, and I put this in quotes, legitimate, or that it doesn't represent the interests of the parishioners, that's not this board's situation. It may be somewhere else to deal with, but not here, and not tonight, and not this application, whether it finishes tonight or it doesn't. If you're
With all my due respect, sir, the witness actually told us all that the parishioners took part in financing the all transactions, acquiring the land, construction, and whatever. I can say more. There is actually a memorial board on a wall of the cultural center saying who was actually the initiator of all this transactions and all construction of the
Sir,
properties.
I'm not disputing what may or may not exist. I'm trying to simply indicate for the record.
Sir, you
No,
interrupted me.
no.
You interrupted me for the second time, but I have a question to you then. Is if this board will discover that the applicants are not the actual owners of this property, will it be a legit base to reject this application?
I'm not going to advise my client in an anticipatory manner if something is different than what is brought before. If that ultimately gets proven, we'll deal with it at the appropriate place and the appropriate time, but the board is not going to engage in anticipatory actions.
Well,
Nor
at the
am I-
beginning
nor-
of this,
You just told me I had interrupted you twice.
Sorry.
Congratulations.
I'm sorry.
We're now even. The fact of the matter remains is that if a party or parties brings information to the board that addresses the standing issue that you all have raised at the last meeting and again tonight, the board will have to deal with it in the context of the application. But in the absence of proof, it's all anticipatory, and the board does not engage on this application or any other in anticipation of or what speculation as to what might be. So,
can I say now?
your
Well,
term.
We will have an answer to this question actually. Once we get the bylaws and read it properly and our lawyer probably will make a decision and disclose it to the board. But I want to say about something else. At the beginning of this meeting, you actually mentioned that this board acts as sort of quasi-judicial, equity. However, as far as I know, the Court of Laws, they make rulings based on the legislation, criminal legislation, civil legislation. I don't know what your rulings are based on, but I want to ask you, what would be the basis for you to reject those applications? What are the main probably basis, the major basis?
The board's determinations are based on its review of the application in accordance with the municipal land use law. It is considered to be quasi-judicial because it is making determinations based upon evidence and testimony. That's why it's considered to be quasi-judicial. That doesn't make it a court of law.
Testimony of what, actually?
What's
Proving what?
the proof that's placed before this board into evidence. You and others have come up here and talked about the standing issue. The standing issue doesn't get addressed here. The standing issue may get addressed in another location. I'm not going to give legal advice.
Okay,
I've done everything but draw the stick figures for you. The point is, this board will not determine whether or not Mr. Lanford's client has standing. It believes it has standing based on the application before it. In the absence of something contrary, it still has standing.
Actually, he didn't answer my questions. However, my last questions to you, sir, and the board, respected board.
Sir, the question is for the applicant. We've gone beyond where it's necessary. I'd ask you to remove yourself from the dais, for the podium, and let the next individual come up and ask his or her questions relative to the testimony. We're engaging in a legal discussion.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Valeria Balakireva. I'm from Denellen, New Jersey. Balakireva. So my question is to Mr. Lenz, right? Lenski. You mentioned in your testimony that the cultural center that used to be a home for Ukrainian school and for Ukrainian dance school, that those schools are already relocated to different locations, right?
Yeah, my understanding is that the educational school left. I'm not sure about the dance school.
Okay, but
They may
you
have.
mentioned that they did relocate to where the most of Ukrainian community members live. So can you please provide the addresses of their new locations?
I don't have it. That's what I would.
Why did you
advise.
put it in your testimony then if you don't have these addresses?
Because as I indicated, I was basing my testimony on information that was provided to me by the Archbishop Anthony as to the administration of the school coming to him saying that they were no longer going to be located in the cultural center because they wanted to move to a location, another location closer to where the people lived.
Who said that the school wanted to move? Is it just your understanding, or
That was-
whether the school indicated that they want to move?
That was not his testimony. His testimony was that the school was relocated. It wasn't a question of who wanted to relocate it, who decided
He
to
just
relocate
said that the school wanted to relocate.
it. That was not his testimony.
Okay, so I need the new addresses of the school, because otherwise it looks like somebody told you that the schools are taken care of and you just believe them without any proof. Because those 200 children who used to go to school
Do you have a
in the
question?
cultural
No,
center,
ma'am,
they're homeless right now.
Ma'am,
My question is what
Thank
the addresses of new locations of 2 schools that used to be housed in Ukrainian Cultural Center.
Because I don't know.
folks, pretend this is a court. You wouldn't dare do this in court. Any other questions, ma'am?
My question is to Mr. Lansky again. You tried to for the members of this committee to have a perception that the Ukrainian Cultural Center is basically not used and empty as of now. That everything is relocated, that it doesn't have any use because there's something else instead of it. There's place for the school to gather. There's places for the for Ukrainian weddings and stuff. So if your testimony that all these community gatherings have a different location, give us the addresses of those locations.
He's asked and answered the question, ma'am.
It was not a question for you. It was for Mr.
He asked
Lansky.
you asked
so
him
can
the
he
question.
ask?
He answered the question. I don't know. Asking the question another time isn't going to get a different answer.
My first question was about schools. Now the question is about community gatherings. Where are they going to happen now?
Mr. Lonsky, if you can answer.
Yeah, I can. What I indicated, and it's still my understanding, is that the cultural material and museum artifacts are being relocated to the building that's already built but not finished in the front of the property, closer to Easton Avenue. The remaining property, which is the subject of the application tonight for additional parking and some of the exterior site improvements so that the public can access the museum and those various other facilities.
My question was not about museum or library. My question was about public community gatherings. Where we suppose to gather now that the cultural center would be unavailable.
I can't answer that other than and knowing that the footprint of the museum and the building that's built includes open space like this area for gatherings. What events may take place there in the future, I don't know.
So you're basically stating that you're taking away the space from Ukrainian community without any guarantee that we will have such a, space in the future. So all your testimony about, we're doing this to make it better for the community, for the Ukrainians to have a better place that doesn't have a leaky roof. It's nonsense.
Ma'am, you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, why are you lying? Why are you lying about something
Mr.
that
Chairman,
you know is not
wait.
true?
Two things. Pause isn't going to get you positive or negative. It's only going to drag the meeting out longer because we're going to have to remind you not to applaud. This is not a place to applaud. This is not some theater. The point is, you got an answer. You may not like the answer. You may not agree with the answer, but you have an answer. The board is going to take everything into account. Let's get this all on the record and we'll deal with it accordingly. If you have ultimate proof down the road, once Mr. Lanford's applicants are done, that's the time to put that proofs on the record. And what I mean by proofs is actual proof, not conjecture and not theory. Anything else, ma'am?
So what is the proof that
I'm not
the
gonna tell you.
schools
I'm not going
are now relocated to new location? Where is the proof? Like, this committee is to
This board is not empowered to determine what the church plans on doing with the situations currently going on the grounds. That's not the purview of this board.
I understand that.
So the answer of where is it and what's the proof, that's an ultimate determination. It's going to have to be submitted by people who are either have the information or who have gained the information and wish to place it before the board's edification as to why the church should not be allowed to develop the property in the manner in which it seeks to develop.
So are you representing the community interest as a board?
I'm representing the board's interests.
Oh, the board interest.
That's correct. I'm the board attorney.
And the board interest, does the board represent the community interest?
The board represents the board under the municipal land use, so the community interest is all parcel of everything. But we are not the community's representatives. We are here to listen to an application on land use matters.
So whom exactly do you represent?
I've answered the question. Next
The board?
person.
So
Yes, the next person.
just all these people.
The next person,
So there's
please.
nothing, I'm sorry, I want to ask you a question. Is there anything that the community members can say that can influence your decision on whether to approve this project or not?
The community, and I think I stated this earlier and I've stated it before. The process is that the applicant places his or her professional testimony on the record. Objectors deal with it. People question the application. Once the applicant is completed, and if Mr. MacArthur has presentations he wishes to make on behalf of his clients, once they are completed, it will be the public's opportunity to comment on the overall application, including many of the issues you people have raised tonight and before. That will be the time frame upon which that can be presented to the board, and the board will take it into consideration as part of the overall application. Where we are this evening is questioning the witnesses relative to their testimony. Do you have any other questions of the witness?
Yeah, my question stands the same.
You got the answer. You've gotten the answer, ma'am, twice.
No, I don't
You may
want
not
the
know-
answer.
Ma'am,
The answer is we don't know.
ma'am,
It's not the answer.
we don't know is his answer. We're not going to end up in a debate of whether you like the answer or not. That's the answer. The board will take it into
Then I demand for this information
you-
about schools
you-
and the use of Ukrainian
ma'am,
Cultural Center
ma'am.
to be taken out of his testimony. If he cannot prove it with any factual documents, then let the testimony, don't have it. It
The
doesn't
board-
have
the
to
board
be
is
there.
go- The board is gonna take the testimony into account, including what does have basis and what doesn't have basis. And if we can move along, the board may have a better chance of doing that at some point. Next person who wishes to question the witness, ma'am? Behind-
Okay,
behind-
one more
behind-
question to Mr.
behind you.
Lansky. Is there any documents that prove that the roof of the Ukrainian Cultural Center was leaking and no repairs would fix it? You put it in a testimony that the reason why the Ukrainian Cultural Center was not having much use is because its roof was leaking.
Worms.
We have information concerning the status of the building, but quite frankly, it's irrelevant. If the building was a perfect building in pristine shape and the church decided for whatever reason to sell it, and they have the authority to do it, they can do it. So I don't think it advances the application one way or another as far as the conditions of the building.
Do you approve this answer?
Mind to approve or disapprove, that's the applicant's contention. If the public wishes to show a different contention, they will get that situation at the time and place.
I have a question to the board.
You don't get to question the board. Thank you, ma'am. Next person, please.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before we get to the next witness, I know boards don't like to normally do this, but in the effort to try to move this along, would the board consider not curtailing, but allowing a maximum of 5 minutes for each of the people asking questions so we can get this thing moved this evening? The board has that authority.
Not at this point.
I think that could be a consideration at some point. And I also think I can't help but saying this. When you come up to ask your questions, a lot of these questions seem to be questions that you should be going to the church leadership and talking to. They're not board questions for a development project. That's all we're considering. You know, maybe I'm too old, but back in the old days, you go to the church and talk to the people and express all these feelings that are coming out about where the schools are going. Is the building in bad enough shape or good enough shape? That's not our issue. Our issue is whether this development is appropriate for the site. And we're supposed to be dealing with this witness's testimony, nothing else. So let's try and limit it to that.
Good evening. My name is Irina Chikerinets, Chikerinets. The address is 26 Northfield Avenue, East Brunswick, New Jersey. My question is sort of a follow-up.
Repeat that.
Closer? Okay. All right. So should I repeat myself? Oh, okay. So Irina Chikerinets, Chikerinets, 26 Northfield Avenue, East Brunswick, New Jersey. My question is a follow-up question to what one of the members of the board asked. So my understanding is that the church proposed to sell the property at some point in May of 2024. And then it was ratified just recently in October of 2025, last month. At some point in between, I believe there was some sort of a trustee meeting. I am just following up on a question that was asked by one of the board members. And there was some sort of members of the public present. I wanted to know when was that meeting and what notice did the members of the public have in order to attend it?
I'm afraid that what's happening is your not only your question, but your preamble to the question has been lost because you're not keeping your mouth close to the microphone. You're
Okay,
wandering
sure,
around. And you're speaking softly and very quickly. Neither of those things is helpful. So
Okay,
slow it down, make it louder, and stay close to the mic.
Okay, so my question is a follow-up question to what one of the board members asked earlier after Mr. Lansky's testimony. So the church proposed to sell the lot at some point in October of 2024, and it was ratified in October of 2025. There are 19 members who are trustees of the board. At some point, there was some sort of a meeting, as my understanding, according to question the testimony, and there were some sort of members of the public present. When was that meeting? How many members of the public were present? What notice was given to the public to attend that meeting? Because this has been a topic of the discussion for the community for a while now. And for some reason, as you can see, people are lost and people are confused. There's no transparency. So my question is, when was that meeting? Which members of the public were present?
Do your questions one at a time.
Okay. So when was that meeting, sir?
You're talking about the meeting that occurred last month in October?
I'm not sure whether that meeting was or not, because I'm just not clear on the answer that was given when one of the members of the board asked. So that's why I wanted to know, when was that meeting? Were members of the public present?
When you say members of the public, there was members of the parishioners that were invited that had titles like priests and bishops. That type of clergy members were the leaders of the church, participated last month in a meeting at which the prior action was ratified. That's my understanding, and that's the document that I've seen is the resolution from 2024. And I'm waiting on the formalization of what happened last month.
Okay, sir, I'll follow up on that. So members of the public were, you said, priests, right? Well, I mean, how many of them were actual people who actually come into church, like regular people, not priests? Someone other than has to do anything with the church.
Yeah.
Objection. Counsel, for some of the objectors asked, and Mr. Bernstein has required us to provide both resolutions, which I think will answer those questions, and we'll provide them before the next meeting. I don't think further questioning will advance our application or their issues.
I do not agree with the council's objection. I believe it's very relevant. It was mentioned.
And it may be relevant, ma'am, and the indication is that the resolutions will be made part of the public record. And at that point, you may be able to either have your questions addressed, or you may have more questions once you see the resolution. But Mr. Lansky's testimony is, this is what he was advised. As to what will come out of it is yet to be determined.
All right. Okay. All right. So also, I do not agree to the fact that, questions of the members of the public need to be limited to a certain amount of time. This is a public meeting.
Ma'am.
Well, no.
No,
excuse me.
Ma'am.
Okay.
I understand the request was made. The chair indicated the board would consider it potentially at some point. It is not a subject for public discussion as to whether or not the board is or is not going to place a time limit on questioning by the public. If you have a question of Mr. Lansky's testimony beyond what you've asked, time is now, otherwise next person.
All right. Also, I would like to request Mr. Lansky that he actually does produce his client to be present, because clearly people have a lot of questions, and if his client is concerned for his security, maybe he should have some sort of a security detail escorting him. But given the fact that he is the person who signs the contract, it comes with the territory that he should be facing the people instead of hiding. Thank you. No more questions.
Good evening. My name is Mark Bukachevsky. That's Bukachevsky. I reside in Edison, New Jersey. Just a quick preamble, a couple sentences. I've grown up in this area. I was born here. I've lived here all my life. I've gone to this facility as long as I've been on this planet. I apologize to the board and to you, Mr. Lansky. I arrived late, so maybe my question was already answered, but I have only one question. When you entertained presenting this application to the board, how was ownership of the property in question verified by you, and who is the person that explained to you that they have the authority to sell the property? And may I, a follow-up question, part B to that question.
Why don't you see if you can get an answer to part one?
Why do I think?
No, why won't we see if we can get an answer, if there is going to be an answer to part one before you ask part two?
Oh, okay, part two is related to part one. Is this information available through Oprah?
Let's get an answer to this first question.
Okay.
Mr. Lanford?
Can he, first of all, repeat part one, because I quite frankly didn't understand the
Is he
question.
asking for a copy of the deed to the property?
I'm asking for whatever instrument you may have that shows that the authorities that you represent have rightful power to place these parcels under sale.
We do have a deed to the property and a title search to the property, which I would be happy to provide to the board.
I would like to see that. Thank you very much. Do you off the top of your head know who's listed on that deed or that instrument?
I don't have that information with me this evening.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to help everyone. As you can see, folks on the board, this is a very emotional issue. It's an emotional issue for most of us. I don't know about the folks here. For me personally, between my wife and I, we have over 20-something members interred in the cemetery there. The roots of the community go deeply for all of these folks. And what is that question for me? And I apologize because I arrived late. You may have testified and I didn't hear it. To me, the question is, because I grew up with a different understanding, to me the question is, as I said, part one and part two, who has the actual authority to sign for the sale of that land and start this process rolling? If that is Archbishop Anthony, then that should be recorded on the deed. I'd like to see the deed and the instrument that is being conveyed, please.
Why don't we stop with the question you asked?
That's all.
Who had the authority to sign the deed? That's the question?
Yes, that.
There has been no deed signed by anybody. There's a contract that has been signed on behalf of the church, and I believe Archbishop Anthony signed the contract.
You mentioned a title search. In the title search process, we should be able to determine the transfer of all of the, I did arrive for that part where you listed, Mr. Lansky, the different transfers of properties. That should all be listed in the title search, right? Correct?
Sir, the title search states what the title search states.
Okay. He will make that available?
I believe the applicant has indicated he will make it available.
Okay, thank you very much. When will I be able to get a chance to see that? When will it be available, please?
I am sure by early next week.
It'll be made available to the board secretary, who will then place it on the board website.
On the board website, that'd be your board.
That's the Franklin Township Zoning Board's website. It will be part of the record.
A procedural question. I won't need to go through an Oprah process to see this. It'll be out there visibly on the internet.
If it's not there, you can go through an Oprah process. You can go through an Oprah process separately, but that's not what we're here for.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Please.
Just a quick question on the materials that Mr. Lanford has been asked to provide and he's promised to provide. So Mr. Bernstein indicated that it would be put on the township website, which is fine, but the request to Mr. Lanford is to make sure to redact necessary information that, if there's dollar amounts and things like that are not necessarily, because whatever you provide to us will be put on the public website.
Yeah, we were not
Social
asked-
security numbers, things like
Yeah,
that.
and we were not asked to provide a contract or anything of that nature, nor would we provide.
I may have misspoke, but whatever you
I
indicated that you
understand.
provide.
Hi, my name is Oleg Matviyshin. Matviyshin is Matviyshin, 15 Yates Avenue, South River, New Jersey. I just asking for a clarifying question. What specific documents will be provided? So it's going to be bylaws, the resolution, the title, the deed, and what else?
Not the bylaws, the two resolutions, I believe the deed and the title.
What about the bylaws?
No.
Okay. Because bylaws would likely have the construction of what our board of trustee might have to, or what the trustee board might look like, the voting powers.
Sir, I would, you're testifying A and B. If there's a desire to get the bylaws, it is the church upon whom you get the bylaws, because the bylaws at the moment have no bearing on this application.
Right, but that's where we circle back to the standing issue.
And I feel like I'm having deja vu all over again, for those of you who recognize the quote. The standing issue is not an issue before this board.
Right,
the application is before this board. If there is a question as to whether or not the applicant has standing, the place to raise it is not before this board.
Right. And then just one final thing I want to let know for the record. I didn't see who said that they're, an old-fashioned guide. You can just walk up to the church and ask these questions. Well, these people have been trying to do that, and obviously nobody's been asking or answering any of our questions. They've been running away. When people go to church and try to ask questions, they've always been avoiding the questions. So if it were that simple, we wouldn't have many of us standing up here like this and pestering you guys. But this is where we were looking for answers.
But we're in no better position in that case than you are, because it's not our responsibility to review the bylaws.
Right. Right. We just, on behalf of everybody here, we just, ask the church's attorney for transparency, because clearly there hasn't been any. Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Mikola, last name Kovalav. According to 2024 New Jersey Title 16, Section 16, owners of the place, Parisians, not the Archbishop and not the Metropolitan, okay? That was lie. And I have a question to the board.
No, let's stop.
Okay.
Citing a state statute which has no relevance to this board is of no relevance to this board. And you don't get to ask questions of the board. You get to ask questions of the witness relative to the testimony. The board is not on trial.
Okay, what the percentage in Board of Trustees, clergy and Parisians? It was built in corrupted manner. Metropolitan just put the clergy in Board of Trustees. Those people dependent on him.
No. Let's stop with the question. The question is, do you know how many members of the Board of Trustees are clergy and are otherwise? If you know.
My understanding is that the Board of Trustees consists of members of the clergy of the church.
Next question.
Next question. Can we postpone all of this and can you suggest those people to do, hold on, you didn't hear the question. To do just a ballot with the anonymous ballot?
No.
Because Parisians, the owners of the place, St. Andrew Church, supposed to vote.
Folks,
yes, we can postpone, and this is in your power.
God, I wish I had that kind of power.
You can suggest them to fix it.
No, first of all, I'm going to say that, folks, stop the applause, stop the comments from the audience. Part one. Part two. This board is not here to take a poll, an election, though this was election week, to determine whether or not the people had the authority or didn't have the authority. This is not the place. I don't know how many times I can say it without treading on a problem that Mr. Lanford, Mr. MacArthur, and I know all too well. Giving legal advice to people who are not who are not our clients. You're looking for legal advice, sir. You're not going to get it from me. You're not going to get it from Mr. Lanford. And as for Mr. MacArthur, I'll leave that to his own situation. But the fact is, this board is not going to give you legal advice, and this board is not going to postpone a pending land use application to determine whether or not the people who may or may not be selling the property have the right to do so. It's not within the purview of the board. I don't know how many times I have to say that. I know many of you are frustrated. I know you are not feeling particularly happy about the church.
Okay.
But this board isn't going to solve that problem.
Then question. In this situation, the clergy, not the owners of the place. They just contractors. They just contractors there.
Sir.
The Metropolitan changed jurisdiction already 3 times. Archbishop Daniel changed 4 times. How they can sign any papers?
You have a question?
Now they Turkish priests. They just a contractors.
Sir, do you have a question for Mr. Lansky relative to his testimony? The issues of whether or not you all have issues with the church are not here. I apologize to the fact that you feel frustrated that that's occurring, but that's not the purview of this board. And asking the question 14 different times in 14 different ways isn't going to get the question answered.
I just bring it to your attention.
Don't bring it to my attention.
Those people cannot represent Ukrainian Orthodox community. New Jersey Ukrainian Orthodox community. They can represent own LGBT community, okay?
Excuse me. I think if you're not going to cooperate with the process, you need to sit down and let the next person.
Vadim Nazarchuk, NAZARCHUK, 16 Dortmunder, Manalapan, New Jersey. Please clarify for me your answer about promises. Was it no or I don't know? Member of the board asked you if any promises were given to community, and you said no, I don't know. No, I am not aware. So it was it no or I don't know?
There's none that I'm aware of.
So it wasn't no. You just don't know. All right. Second question. Your testimony implied that majority of the funding came from proceeds from I-27, right? Not from community. Do you have any particular numbers? How much money was raised by community and how much money were obtained from selling?
Objection as to the relevance.
It was directly said from those testimony. Maybe it was other way around.
It has no relevance to this pending application.
That may be the case, but you opened the Pandora's box. If you can answer the question, Mr. Lansky, if you can't, you can't. State it on the record.
I don't have the exact numbers.
Next question.
That's good. Thank you. So
Okay, this session is now closed to the public, and we'll move on to the next witness.
I'd like to call Mr. Miola. Mr. Miola, you testified or sworn and testified at the previous hearing,
Yes.
and you are a licensed engineer in the state
Mr.
of
Miola, for the purposes of the record, can you state your name, full name, spell your last for the record, by whom you're employed in your credentials? I know you previously testified, but I believe there are people who were not present the last hearing, and before I end up having to deal with that, let's just get it on the record.
Sure. Daniel Miola, M-I-O-L-A, Langen Engineering, 300 Kimball Drive, Parsippany, New Jersey.
As a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, and my license is in good standing.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay. Mr. Miola, at the last hearing, you testified as to the minor subdivision that we are seeking. Is that correct?
Yes.
And very briefly, do you have an exhibit to show that subdivision, just to refresh the board's recollection and for the members of the public who were not at the previous hearing?
I do. I'm pulling up a drawing entitled Minor Subdivision Plot, drawing number CB102, that was submitted as part of the subdivision application.
Okay.
We're going to mark that. I don't know what the exhibit number we're at, but for purpose of the record, wherever it is as of tonight.
I think it was part of the application, so
I know it was, but we're separating it out for this. We'll assign it a number accordingly.
Okay. And for the record, Mr. Miola, the exhibit which is on the board shows 2 parcels that are being subdivided?
Yes.
Okay, and can you describe the 2 parcels, which parcel is being retained by the church and which parcel is being sold?
Sure. The parcel on the right side of this exhibit is the parcel that will be retained by the Ukrainian church. That parcel will continue to front on Easton Avenue and Davidson Avenue and will be approximately 15 acres. The second lot, which will front on Davidson Avenue, and it's on the left side of this exhibit, that will be approximately 17.7 acres, and that is the parcel that is proposed to be sold to the applicant for the warehouse.
Mr. Miola, do you have a light pen or something so you can show the people in the audience what you're talking about? Because it's a lovely drawing, but it's hopeless to me to understand which is which. Ah, there you go. Now, where's the dividing line?
The dividing line is down the center of the parcel in that east-west direction, assuming, with north being to the right side of the page for Easton Avenue for reference. So this parcel at the intersection of Davidson and Easton Avenue is a parcel that will be retained by the church, and this back parcel further south is the parcel that is proposed to be sold.
Okay, and thank you. And for further reference, because you'll be testifying a little bit later, to the south of the parcel that is being sold is Executive Drive?
That's correct. Executive Drive, which is a public right-of-way, I'm indicating with my pointer, it's on the left side of the leftmost lot proposed to be subdivided.
Okay, and to the left of that, south of that, is the property that was the subject of the IDI application, which this board heard a couple of months ago and approved for a warehouse. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I'm indicating that with the laser pointer right now. It's located to the left of the Executive Drive right-of-way.
Okay, and based on what the testimony you've heard and conversing with the church, that was property that was formerly owned by the church and sold in approximately 1979, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, we are here this evening to review 2 site plans. One site plan for the remainder parcel of the church, and then one site plan for the warehouse. Can you bring up the site plan for the church?
Sure. What I have that I've just toggled to is a rendered version of the site plan for the improvements proposed on the lot to be retained by the church.
Mr. Miola, has this previously been provided to the board?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Miola. I was impressed by the,
Other than the colorization of it.
thank you. So this exists in a black and white version. This is a colorized version of a previously provided exhibit.
And this is part of the slide deck that was introduced as part of the applicant, Mr. Zeman's testimony from last hearing.
Thank you.
Yes, just to describe the site plan application on the lot to be retained by the church, just to indicate the two existing buildings on the church. To the north side is the existing seminary building, and then south of that is the second building where the administrative office for the church exists. There's also a chapel there and a museum. That second building to the south currently has 20 parking spaces, and the church has indicated that building will need a total of 80 spaces after the property is subdivided. We are proposing to fill in on the west, the north, and the east of those existing 20 spaces, an additional 62 spaces, which would bring the parking total up to 82. Some of this building is a museum, and the museum use has no parking requirements in the town ordinance. In absence of a requirement, the ordinance allows for the submittal of documentation that confirms that the number of spaces is adequate. This applicant's traffic engineer, Mr. Lothian, has submitted a parking evaluation that does just that, and it confirms that the proposed 82 spaces is an adequate number based on the parking demands of this building. The 82 spaces will include 4 ADA accessible spaces, as well as 3 electric vehicle make-ready spaces, both in compliance with state statutes. Parking space dimensions will be 9 feet wide by 18 feet long, which will meet the minimum space size requirements by the township ordinance. The drive aisles will be 26 feet wide, which also meets ordinance requirements, and parking setbacks are also compliant. 5-foot sidewalks are proposed proximate to the parking areas that will connect to the building's doors. And a sidewalk is also proposed from the intersection of Easton Avenue to the south along the entire Davidson Avenue frontage. A new sidewalk which will ultimately connect to the sidewalk that is proposed for the warehouse application. The 82 space lot will be accessed by true driveways that will connect to the parking lot of the warehouse. The access was previously proposed through the existing driveway down to Davidson Avenue, but in response to comments from the board professionals, we've removed that access and revised it to be through the warehouse parking lot. Therefore, the vehicles accessing this parking lot will all come through the warehouse parking lot, and we are proposing a gate at the existing driveway by the seminary in order to restrict access to this parking area from Easton Avenue. That gate will be operable for emergency vehicles, but again will not be open for regular traffic. The That driveway that connects the cemetery will be increased to 12 feet wide in order to comply with town standards. And a circulation plan will be provided that confirms that a town emergency vehicle can navigate that connecting driveway. In connection with the increase in impervious coverage proposed for the parking spaces, we performed a stormwater management design. That stormwater management will consist of 2 above-ground basins to the north of the parking lot. Those basins will provide the required water quantity, water quality, and groundwater recharge management for the parking lot. The site design also includes a landscape plan that proposes trees around the parking area, as well as along the driveway down to Easton Avenue and along the whole frontage of Easton Avenue. And those additional trees are indicated on this rendering, mainly flanking the Easton Avenue frontage as well as the driveway in off of Easton Avenue. Additional trees and landscaping are provided around the new parking area as well. In total, 29 shade trees, 38 ornamental trees, and 110 evergreen trees are proposed for the church lot, as well as approximately 200 shrubs and various grasses and perennials to round out the landscape design. A tree removal and replacement plan has also been provided that shows that the required amount of replacement trees are being provided on the site. Additionally, a lighting design was performed for the 82 space lot. That lighting design includes 19 pole-mounted LED lights at 14-foot heights, and the design fully complies with township requirements. I am in receipt of the board planner and board engineer's comment letters, and overall I can agree to comply with the comments provided in those letters. One of the items required in the letters was testimony regarding trash collection. A dumpster pad and screen fence are proposed along the west side of the parking lot, and that dumpster will be serviced by a private waste hauler.
A couple quick questions. This application was reviewed by the Franklin Township Historic Commission?
Yes, it was.
Okay, actually, we were there on more than one occasion.
3 times.
Okay, and they reviewed all of the landscaping, and a lot of the landscaping that we are proposing was based on their request. Is that not correct?
That is that is correct. They were particularly sensitive to the view of the site from the towpath along the Raritan River, and that is the reason for the landscaping along the Easton Avenue frontage.
Okay. And with respect to the staff comments, that you agreed to comply with, in complying with those staff comments, do they in any way significantly alter what is being reviewed by the board this evening or what is on that exhibit?
No.
With respect to the site plan for this site, the only improvements then are landscaping, parking, and stormwater management. There are no buildings being proposed, no new construction being proposed. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. There are some utility improvements as well in order to separate this site from the site to the south.
Okay.
And so there are some new utility connections proposed.
Okay, but there are no new buildings as part of this project.
The site to the south is ICI, or is it?
It's the proposed warehouse application that you're hearing tonight.
And I'll get to that next. Okay. And there are no variances in conjunction with this site plan application?
Correct.
Okay. The second application that you prepared is an application for site plan approval for the warehouse.
Yes, I'm going to flip to my next exhibit, which is a rendered version of the site plan that was submitted in the application package for the warehouse.
While you're flipping, the application number is for this application?
Now you're testing me.
That's the objective.
The application number for the warehouse is ZBA 25000009.
And the application that Mr. Miola testified to?
25000007.
Thank you.
So as I introduced this next exhibit, it is reflective of the site plan that was included in the planning board application for the warehouse application at the application number referenced earlier.
Planning board application?
Oh, excuse me. Zoning Board of Adjustment.
If you'd like it to be before the planning board, we can. Yeah.
Well, send you right over.
I think we're before the right board.
Mr. Miola, is this a colorized version of a document previously provided?
Yes.
All right, we'll mark that as the next exhibit thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you. As I indicated, the site plan application on this site, which is to the south of the site we were just talking about, proposes to redevelop the site for a warehouse facility. The building will have a footprint totaling 258,150 square feet with ancillary office space, which is shown in three separate pods of the building. To the northwest, to the center, and to the northeast. The office component of the building will total 10,500 square feet, with the remainder being all warehouse space. This building will have one car parking lot to the north side of the building.
Well, wait. You have to stop with the north and south stuff, because I didn't bring my compass. What I need you to do is I need you to take out that little thing, and first thing I want to find out is, where is the space that we just reviewed, the space that's being kept by the Ukrainian church?
That is at the top of the.
Okay, good. Now, you're just talking about places where the offices are going to be located. Do it the same way. Don't tell me north and south. Show me where it's going to be.
Sure. Just for reference, the museum building. You want to look to point to that right now with my.
We can't hear you.
Oh,
The museum building is directly to the top of this slide. The executive drive is shown to the south and being pointed to with my laser pointer. And the IDI site, which is known as, with the three office buildings, is to the south of that executive drive. The three office components of this building are proposed on the side of the building that will face the museum building. The car parking lot for this warehouse will be located to the north of the building, between the building and the church property that will be maintained. The cemetery is to the west, on the other side of this tributary that is located along the property line. So now that I've oriented everybody to go along
Daniel, let me say. Folks, no calling questions from the audience, no interruption to the testimony, please. If you have questions of the witness, when it comes time, you can ask him the questions you have from the audience. Thank you.
So I explained the car parking lot, which will be 151 spaces. The loading docks will be on the part of the building opposite, facing the Executive Drive and the IDI site. We are proposing a total of 35 loading docks. To the west we are proposing a total of 19 trailer parking spaces. Again, that's just to the west of the warehouse building. This building is designed on spec, which is to say that there are no tenants that are identified at this time. While a use variance is required, the project is compliant with most of the bulk standards set forth in the BI zone, including building setbacks, building height, lot coverage, impervious coverage, and floor area ratio. 3 C variances are required, which I will touch on throughout my testimony, and our planner will also provide proofs for. To discuss circulation, 2 driveways are proposed. First, a driveway out to Davidson Avenue for the car parking lot. This driveway will be 26 feet wide, and it will be utilized by passenger vehicles only. A second driveway is proposed off of Executive Drive, which will connect to the loading part of the building. This second driveway will be used primarily by trucks. The width of this driveway is 66 feet wide. That requires a variance, that width, from the town's maximum driveway width requirement, which is 36 feet. The 66-foot width at the mouth of this driveway is the minimum width necessary to accommodate truck turning movements into and out of the driveway. And for that reason, we're requesting relief for that driveway width. The loading area depth, which is the dimension from the loading docks to the opposite curb, is 130 feet. This also requires a variance from the town ordinance, which requires a minimum dimension of 147 feet. We've provided truck turn templates and submitted that with our application package that show how vehicles will access the docks. And those templates show that 130 feet is enough room. And in addition, based on my experience laying out warehouse sites, 130 feet is a standard dimension that the industry uses. We also require a variance for front yard loading, as the pavement for the truck court is within the required front yard setback of Executive Drive. Both the driveway width and the front yard pavement setback, given that they are required relative to Executive Drive, we are of the understanding that Executive Drive is proposed to be vacated by the township. And if that does indeed happen, both of those variances would not be required.
Before you go further, and just so I can clarify that issue, the Township Council introduced an ordinance last
Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, last Tuesday to vacate Executive Drive. That ordinance was introduced as a result of the actions of this board in the IDI application, wherein this board requested that IDI request a vacation of Executive Drive. IDI, in compliance with the board's request, has done that. In addition, part of the resolution of the IDI application is that once Executive Drive is vacated, that they would have to provide to us an access easement so that we can gain access to our property. We are in discussions with IDI as far as the language of that easement, but that is being accomplished. And so that Mr. Miola's testimony is based on the application that we submitted, at which time Executive Drive was a public right-of-way. And the reality is that if the resolution of the council to vacate is adopted, which it should be within the next couple of weeks, all those variances go away.
Thank you. Just to explain some other aspects of the site plan, I had stated before in introducing the church application that they were proposing a sidewalk along Davidson Avenue. This application proposes to pick up that sidewalk and carry it along the frontage of Davidson Avenue, ultimately terminating at the Executive Drive Davidson Avenue intersection. Also, the Executive Drive Davidson Avenue intersection will be upgraded. These intersection improvements will include widening the curb radius to better facilitate turning movements, as well as ADA ramps, crosswalks, signage, signals, controls, and new striping. Several retaining walls are proposed on the site in order to support the grading plan. First, an 8-foot high wall is proposed to screen the truck court from Davidson Avenue. In addition, 4-foot high walls are proposed around some of the basins for stormwater management, as well as between the car parking lot and church. 2 monument signs are proposed, one by the car driveway out to Davidson Avenue, and the other by the truck driveway at Executive Drive. Wall signs are proposed on the building to identify the building's tenants. The monument signs and the wall signs will be fully compliant with township requirements with respect to their number, their setbacks, and their sizes. Other components of the site plan include waste management, which we will expect will be done through the use of a waste compactor that will be in one of the loading dock positions. The exact location of the compactor will be determined by the tenant. This compactor will be serviced by a private waste hauler. Stormwater management has been designed to meet the water quantity, water quality, and groundwater recharge requirements of the township. This site will include 8 stormwater management facilities, which includes 3 pervious pavement systems and 5 bioretention above-ground basins. These facilities, after providing water treatment, will ultimately discharge runoff to the ditch on the west side of the site, which is a tributary to the Raritan River. The stormwater management design was done in compliance with Township, DRCC, and NJDEP permit. NJDEP has in fact issued their permit for the project. And DRCC has indicated that they have no more technical comments to that design and that they will be issuing their permit once all other approvals are received by the township and the county. The outfall into the Raritan River tributary requires relief or a hardship waiver from section 112-228.b of the ordinance due to its presence within the stream corridor. To justify that waiver, I can state that most of our disturbance for the outfall is within previously disturbed lawn areas. And there will really only be a small section of the installation, the downstreammost part closer to the riverbank, that will require some clearing. That clearing has been approved by NJDEP, and the area will be restored with indigenous, non-invasive vegetation. To touch on landscaping next, as shown on the exhibit, the site design included a landscape plan that focused landscaping around the perimeter of the site, in particular the street frontages of Davidson Avenue and Executive Drive. In total, 54 shade trees, 53 ornamental trees, and 126 evergreen trees are proposed, which totals 233 trees. In addition, 241 shrubs are proposed, as well as ornamental grasses and perennial plantings.
Where are they going? Where's everything going?
Most of the shrubs are going directly next to the pavement areas. Most of the trees are going along the street frontages, as well as the rest of the perimeter of the site. The landscape plan meets the tree planting requirement of 1 tree for every 2,000 square feet of pavement.
They're never going to make that.
We've received a comment from the town planner to add more trees in every island throughout the car parking area, and we will agree to do that. A tree removal plan was prepared as required by the township. Not all the required replacement trees are being proposed on the site, and therefore the applicant agrees to contribute into the town's tree fund for the remaining required plantings as allowed for by ordinance. For lighting, LED lights will be mounted on the building. For the north side, which is the side that faces the church retained property and the car parking lot, the lights will be mounted on the building at 20-foot heights. The other building mounted lights on the opposite side will be mounted at a taller height of 30 feet. And in addition, some pole mounted lights are proposed, which will also be 30 feet. Lighting design fully complies with ordinance requirements with respect to light levels for parking lots, property lines, spillover, and other requirements. Couple more items for the record. First, a Buckeye pipeline is located to the west of the site along the ditch on that western side. Buckeye has a 30-foot easement over the pipe, and we've had multiple discussions with them regarding the work that impacts their easement, which really just consists of that storm pipe crossing. We will ultimately provide appropriate documentation from Buckeye to the township that allows for our proposed storm crossing. In addition, we had 3 meetings, as I testified earlier, with the Township's Historic Preservation Advisory Commission. Throughout those meetings, we made several design revisions that they recommended, and ultimately they have issued letters supporting both these applications. And lastly, I'm in receipt of the comment letters from the board professionals, including the board planner and the board engineer, and can agree to all of the comments contained within those letters.
Now, you had referenced, and there was a question asked about the cemetery. Can you indicate to the board where the cemetery is located?
The cemetery is located on the left, on the top left side of this exhibit. It shows a little bit of it is shown on this view, but most of it is not. But it's
Is most of it further up? I don't want to use the word north, but I almost have to. Is it further into the?
I'm going to pull up another exhibit that I think shows the overall picture here. Oh, there it is. So this exhibit shows the cemetery property, which borders both the church parcel and the proposed warehouse parcel entirely, and extends from 287 to Easton Avenue.
And is there any connection between the warehouse parcel and the cemetery?
No.
Is there a connection between the church parcel and the cemetery?
Yes, there is a pedestrian footbridge that crosses the stream that divides the cemetery from the church site.
So that the warehouse has no impact or connection, I don't want to use the word impact, no connection between the warehouse and the cemetery.
Correct.
And it's the tributary that allows for that condition to occur. In other words, that's why there's no connection between the warehouse and the cemetery. It's because of the tributary.
That's correct.
What a sentence. Okay.
Okay, and you had indicated that there were some tributaries, are there any wetlands on the site?
Yes, there are along the tributary bank.
Okay, and we've accounted for those, and we are not impacting those wetlands, is that correct?
We are doing work within the buffers of the wetlands, and we did obtain a permit from NJDEP in order to perform that work.
Okay, and that's what we're requesting a waiver for the township for?
For that stream corridor ordinance, yes.
Okay, next question. there's a hotel around here. What's it called?
The Delta Hotel?
Delta, yeah, that's it. Where is the Delta Hotel? It's on the other side of, is that Davidson there?
Correct.
Okay, so it's on the other side of Davidson. And what kind of a vegetative buffer is on that side of the warehouse property?
We have plantings, tree plantings along Davidson Avenue on our side of Davidson Avenue between the warehouse and the curb.
Mm-hmm. Can you be more specific? We'll give you time.
Yes. So we're providing 2 rows of trees, one pretty close to the Davidson Avenue curb, and then the other pretty close to the warehouse wall. And I can pull up the landscape plan, or I can zoom in to show you that.
Okay, could you do that? Okay. And where's the 8-foot wall? It's not on that side?
The 8-foot wall.
It's over, yeah, it's over on the Executive Drive side, okay.
The 8-foot wall is right here, like an L, protruding out from this building bump out.
Yeah.
And then wrapping around the pavement.
Okay, great, thanks.
I have a question about the driveway. Maybe I understood that or not, I'm not 100% sure. But to go to the museum, or you know, in the property that would stay with the church, do they have to use that common driveway to get in there?
Yes. Cars that want to access the 82 space parking lot that wraps around the museum building will have to utilize the Davidson Avenue driveway for the warehouse and then turn into that parking lot.
And whose ownership would that driveway be?
It will be, the ownership will be dependent on this subdivision line. There will be an access easement executed between the parties that allow for this access.
And how easy or hard is it for the future owners, if all of this gets approved of the warehouse, to back out of that?
It would be a recorded easement, which would be binding on all future owners. It would be a permanent access easement.
Thank you.
Just double checking, and all of that traffic has the benefit of the traffic signal remaining as part of the Executive Drive improvements, correct?
The traffic signal will remain, even though Executive Drive will be vacated.
But the light will stay. Right?
Correct. Mr. Miola, I just forgot, did you indicate that you reviewed both Mr. Healy's and Mr. Mazzi's report and that you could comply with those?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, old age, I forget these things. I have no further questions.
Anything from the board?
I just have 2 questions. And excuse me if you answered this. That you've submitted to the DNR Canal Commission?
Yes, we have.
What's your overall status of their review?
They have indicated via letters for both the improvements at the church site as well as the improvements at the warehouse site that they have no further technical comments, and that as soon as we evidence county and township approvals, that they will be in a position to grant us approval.
Okay. And then my other comment is, in my report, I basically, figure 5 on page 9, I provided a comparison of this site plan to the IDI Logistics warehouse application that's on the south side of Executive Drive. And basically showed that on that application, there was a much wider landscape front lawn. And that plan, if the board recalls, had a very robust landscape plan between Davidson and the warehouse proposed on that site. This site, the building is basically right up to the 50-foot required front yard with far less landscaping. Is there a reason for that?
Is there a reason why we're complying with the ordinance?
Mr. Lanford, you are seeking a use variance as well as your site plan application. And the board felt it appropriate to grant the use variance for IDI. Some of the discussion that was before the board on that was that buffer that was provided on that application. That's why I'm asking that question.
Okay, but just to make the record clear, Mr. Healy, we are compliant with the, forget the D variance, we are compliant with the setback requirements of the ordinance, correct?
You are not asking for a front yard variance, that is correct.
Mr. Miola, can you indicate the difference between our application and the IDI application and why they have a greater setback?
The IDI application had a different lot configuration. I actually believe we have a slide that shows this in context with their application. If I can scroll to it. Yeah. There it is. The IDI lot had the benefit of their long axis on the 287 side of the property, which allowed them to use that axis for the building in this layout. I will add that the IDI building proposes a driveway within the area between the building and Davidson Avenue for their car parking lot. So while they do have a buffer between the building, they have both a detention basin as well as this driveway proposed for circulation. So it's really a function of the lot area that the two developers have to work with and the layouts that they've advanced for approval.
Well, wait a minute. Could you make the building, this is on the Davidson Avenue side of the building we're talking about?
Yes.
Couldn't you just make your building a little smaller and then put more, match up with the buffering that's being done by ICI?
If I zoom in here on the IDI.
IDI, I'm sorry.
Their basin is as close to Davidson Avenue as our building. So it's not like they have a landscape planted berm buffer. They're doing stormwater management there for their project. In addition, just to the west of that, they have a drive aisle for circulation. So I believe if you match up how close their basin is to the Davidson Avenue curb, that looks about the same distance as our building to the Davidson Avenue curb.
Okay, so their hardscape and your building are at about the same line?
Their basin and our building is about the same, at the same line.
Their basin, does that mean it's part of the stormwater management?
Correct.
Then it's green?
Correct.
Oh. Yeah.
Mr. Miola, I don't want to argue with this point, but that basin is landscaped with trees and shrubs. I mean, that's what's on their plan. So I just want the board to, it's not a hardscape, it's a landscaped retention basin, just for the record.
We didn't say it was hardscape.
No, that
Mr.
was
Miola
me.
is trying to make a comparison between the setback of a 50-foot tall warehouse and a landscaped retention basin.
He is testifying to what our plan shows and what IDI's plan shows.
Both of you are right.
Any other board questions?
I just have two minor questions. First, for the sidewalk along Davidson Avenue, portions of it get out of the right of way. I just want to make sure you'll be granting an access easement in perpetuity for the public.
Yes, we agree to that.
Okay. Also, the one retention basin in this, let's say on the IDL side, I know that there's some comments in my letter regarding raising the top of wall. Just want to make sure that, you know, you address that at the board, because that section almost ends up being a bowl. So we want to flatten it up. So it's going to be more than a 4-foot wall there in order to flatten out the grades.
Yes, the basin you're referring to is the basin near the Davidson Avenue Executive Drive intersection, and that we have a 4-foot retaining wall, but we do have a 5-foot vertical slope down to the top of that wall. You've asked for just a wall for the entire 9 feet, which we can agree to do.
Any other questions? Before we open to the public for questions to the engineer, I want to mention that any questions will end at 9:55. We do no business after 10 o'clock, and we have leave some time for scheduling. And I guess we will start again with Mr. McCarthy.
Mr. Miola, with respect to the parcel that is being retained by the church, I believe you testified that there were no variances required on that lot.
Yes. Although, as you'll hear from our planner, because we are subdividing the property and there is an existing church, I don't, is that a technical D variance?
We will present testimony. There are a D variance required for that site. There are no bulk variances that are required. And we will present planning testimony to that effect.
All right, then. Mr. Miola, did you, as part of your preparation for tonight, did you review the zoning ordinance?
The what ordinance?
The zoning ordinance for Franklin Township.
No.
Are you familiar, sir, that according to the Franklin Township zoning ordinance, section 112-37E, the majority of the parking shall be located at the rear of the main structure. This is for a church, churches and similar places of worship, with no more than 10% of the total parking located at the front entrance for handicapped accessibility, weddings, and funeral services. Were you aware of that, sir?
I'm not aware of that.
And that would require a variance, wouldn't it?
I'd have to review it in the context of this application.
Well, the context of the application, it shows that around the front of your building, you've got more than 10% of the 82 spaces, and it's kind of wrapping around the whole property.
Can you read the ordinance again?
Certainly, I'd be happy to. We're at 112-37, churches and similar places of worship. Section E. Can everybody hear me? Parking location. The majority of the parking shall be located to the rear of the main structure with no more than 10% of the total parking located at the front entrance for handicap accessibility, weddings, and funeral services.
So while this building has a chapel, it also has administrative offices as well as a museum. And so I'm not sure that that ordinance applies.
Well, this is a church, is it not? Isn't it St. Andrew's Church?
It has a chapel within it. The main church is not on this property.
So is your testimony the variance is not required?
I would have to review the ordinance. I'm not sure.
Now, talk to me about the easement. Is the cross easement, is that for access only?
What easement are you referring to?
Well, you testified that there was an easement between the property to be retained by the church and the property that's going to become, hopefully not, the warehouse on the other side of the subdivision line.
Right.
Is that right? Okay, so please help me understand where that is. Is it simply the drive aisles?
Yes. The easement would have to cover access to both driveways into the parking lot for the museum. So it would go from the property line down the driveway in front of the warehouse and out to Davidson Avenue.
Okay, so other than the access and egress drives around the church, or what we'll call the chapel, the access easement will be in no other location?
I don't believe so. I think it would.
Okay.
It would be where I said it would be.
All right, so this cross easement is not for parking, is it?
No, it's for access.
For access only?
Yes.
So did you have a hand in preparing the parking study, or is that the traffic engineer?
That would be the traffic engineer.
All right, then I'll ask him the next series of questions. Just make a note of that. You had a section of your testimony, sir, that referred to the landscaping that was to be provided. I thought I saw on your landscaping plan that there was a 577 tree shortfall of what you're providing. Is that correct?
You're referring to the tree replacement plan?
Yes.
The total replacement trees required is 577. Okay. Of that, we are proposing 232 trees, which makes the shortfall not 577, but 345.
A shortfall nonetheless, though, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Mayo, on your site plan, there's a darkened area indicating a Township of Franklin stream corridor preservation area. Is that correct?
The darkened area is with respect to a conservation restriction area proposed for that western part of the site where the river corridor is.
So there's no improvements that are in that conservation area?
we have the storm sewer improvements that I testified to earlier.
Now, with respect to the tributary, I believe it's to the north of the site, are there wetlands associated with that tributary?
The tributary is to the west of the site, and yes, there are wetlands.
And
associated with it.
are those wetlands ordinary, intermediate, or exceptional?
Exceptional.
Exceptional. So that would mean that there's a 150-foot buffer from I believe it's the top of the stream?
From the wetland limit.
From the wetland limit, okay. 150-foot buffer. Now, on your site plan, I noticed that there was a notation, which I think is for that wetland, that it is entitled anticipated. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Why is it anticipated?
Because at the time of this, of the submittal, it was not confirmed.
It hasn't been confirmed since?
DEP. Yes, it has.
And it is exceptional?
Yes.
And it is a 150-foot buffer?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in looking at where you have this, I'll call it the limit of the 150-foot wetland buffer. I'm seeing that it is cutting through certain improvements on the site plan. I'm seeing it cut through a basin, a sliver of impervious cover, a second basin and related infrastructure, 3 parking spaces. It looks to go through part of a third basin. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes. So
then this site plan that you're showing us tonight, this isn't really what it's going to end up looking like, correct? Because you can't build in a wetland buffer, correct?
You can, due to a policy at the DEP known as transition area waiver or transition area averaging, which we received via permit from the DEP. So all the improvements proposed on this plan with respect to the wetland and the wetland buffer have been approved by the state.
Can you provide a copy of that transition area waiver, please?
Yes.
That was not part of the file. Now, the tributary. When you prepared this site plan, is this tributary have any other, environmental designations? Is it a C1, C2, or C3 stream? Did you look into that?
It has been assigned a 50-foot riparian zone, which means it is not a Category 1 stream.
Is it a C2 or a C3?
I'm not sure.
Can you find out for us, please?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask if I can ask a follow-up question? Was the 50-foot riparian zone, was that part of a submittal to the DEP, and did they confirm that?
That's correct. Yes, the DEP had confirmed a 50-foot riparian zone off that stream.
But nonetheless, you'll confirm what the designation was?
What the category is. It's either a 2 or a 3.
Okay.
Either way, it's a 50-foot riparian zone.
On your landscape plan, I believe it's LP 101, are any plants on that schedule considered non-native?
The species we select are always either native or adaptive.
Okay, so they're native.
Or adaptive species.
What's the difference between an adaptive species and one that is non-native?
Adaptive was not originally native, but has been in the region and adapted to the climate and the conditions, and therefore will thrive.
Looking at your lighting plan around the site, which will have the warehouse, or which is proposed to have the warehouse, does any of that the lighting on that plan, on the lighting plan, does any of it spill over? Is it more than a 0.1 of a foot candle at the boundary lines around the parcel?
Yes.
It is more than, is it 1 or is it more than that? 0.1 or more than that?
It's less than 1 foot candle.
Less than 1, okay, less than 1 foot candle. Is it more than 0.1 foot candle?
I see some 0.4s.
Right. Some
Along the property
0.3s, some 0.6s.
Possibly. I can see a 0.4 in particular where it spills over to the driveways that are located for the 82 space parking lot.
Doesn't the ordinance indicate that it can't be more than 0.1 spillage at the boundary line to another property?
The ordinance, I believe, states that lighting fixtures shall not exceed 0.1 foot candles at the property line adjoining residentially zoned property.
Sir, did you design the size of the truck bays in the warehouse?
Do you mean the loading docks?
Yes.
What do you mean by size?
Well, what I'm talking about is how big of a tractor trailer will be able to fit in one of those bays.
So yes, we did circulation plans that were included in the submittal package that show a New Jersey Title 39 tractor trailer can access that truck yard.
And how big is that? Is that a WB 70?
No, that is a more akin to a WB 67, but it does represent the largest truck that is permissible in New Jersey.
Okay, so nothing bigger than a WB 67 will come to this site. Is that your testimony?
Nothing bigger than a New Jersey Title 39 truck.
And it's not designed, and it's in fact not designed for it, correct? The bays aren't designed for a WB 70, correct?
I didn't run that truck turn template. They may work if I did run the template, but there's no point because they're not allowed on the streets of New Jersey.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
I think you have limited time right now tonight for questions. Engineering testimony is pretty specific. So I'm telling you now, I'm entertaining no church politics like the last time. We want to hear questions. You want to help us get information to make a decision. Questions concerning his testimony.
Yuri Volk, WOWK, 66 Cedar Grove Lane, Somerset, New Jersey 08873.
Mr. Walk, are you represented by Mr. MacArthur?
I am represent myself.
And you cannot ask any questions of Mr. MacArthur's responsibility.
But I'm on the board. I'm on the board for these questions. Last meeting you allowed me, because I'll be short. It's important questions. Truck coming here. Truck is coming here. And here is the truck parking, right? And we here is it cemetery.
Okay. What are we doing there?
I need you up there. No.
He's either represented or not.
Peter,
Meanwhile, can I
No.
just one short question?
No.
One short question.
Let's get this resolved.
We're still democratic state, right?
No.
Am I wrong?
Can we?
You call hearing, public hearing. Just one short question.
No. Before you
Is
ask
any single,
Sir?
any single Ukrainian soul agree with all this mess?
Sir.
We
Mr.
all
McCar-
oppose this. Guys, let's vote. We all oppose this.
Again, we're not
Everybody
interested
in this room.
in elections here.
Is it with
tonight.
Yes,
the
it's not
elections?
the elections, it's just,
No.
why you call them public
And
hearing?
I have to ask you to sit down before. I wouldn't want to have to do it a second
Thank you,
time.
Mr. Miola, but we don't need all of this. This is the owners of the
This
place.
is not appropriate for this part of the meeting,
Good
or
evening.
any part.
Good evening, honored chairman, enlightened board. Mark Datskiwski, DATCKIWSKY, National Adjutant of the Ukrainian American Veterans, who have our national monument at St. Andrew's Cemetery. I ask you, enlightened board, to please delay the vote, and let's get this properly done. I was just in Ukraine and I missed your September 18th meeting. So I came back. People in Ukraine know about this. This is an international issue for them. And they believe that everything has to be, and I'm asking you to delay your vote. See all the people here? Thank you. As a veteran and as American. Thank you. I'm asking the chairman, you're the attorney for the group, directly to the chairman.
First of all, there isn't a vote. We're nowhere near taking a vote on this application. As the chair indicated, the situation at the time is to ask Mr. Miola questions regarding his testimony. If you have a question regarding his testimony, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, the board's not taking any actions tonight.
Okay, thank you for that reassurance. We heard it. The board isn't taking any action tonight. Thank you.
Good evening again. Could you hear me? Great, thank you. Igor Kreptik, 17 Majestic Drive, Freehold, New Jersey.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Miola, what's a great design? Thank you. I want to ask specifically about 82 parking spots. Are those were given to you by whom? You understand, current building, which was actually planning to be demolished or removed, had much higher amount of parking spots. So where did you derive was the 82 spots needed for this application?
A parking evaluation was done for that existing building, which confirms that 82 is an adequate number.
Adequate number for what?
Based on the amount of people expected in that building.
Expected by whom? Who gave you those numbers?
You can refer to the parking evaluation that provides all the details of that. It was authored by our traffic engineer, and he will provide more testimony on it later in the proceedings.
Okay, I will check. And you also mentioned level will be adequate. What are we talking about? Like on the parking level, what level of the lighting will be adequate? Would you be able to recollect that?
Are you talking about illumination levels?
Yes, luminance.
parking design, or the illumination design is done in order to disperse light so that it's in accordance with standards that are applicable to parking lot design. And so our design is in accordance with those levels.
So what levels are we talking about? Do you have that data available?
Yes, we did a whole lighting plan that shows.
That's in submission?
Yes.
Okay, I'll check it myself then, as long as I have it there.
Yeah, it's in the package.
All right, I have all questions for now. But traffic still will be reviewed later on, am I correct?
That's correct. We have a traffic
All right.
witness.
But I have enough questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this will probably be the last question. One more, that's it.
Mark Bukachevsky, Edison, New Jersey. Mr. Miola, quick question. You mentioned it's a spec warehouse, but I think I missed, what are the dimensions of the building? Is that a true rendering, or is that a artist rendering, or do you have some dimensions of specific?
Oh, no, that's a true representation of what's proposed. The length, the length of the building, kind of in this direction, end to end, is 818 feet. The depth of the building is in this direction is about 360 feet.
Okay, thank you. You have listed as a height.
The height of the building is complies with the 50-foot height requirement. The height of the building along Davidson Avenue is reported to be 44 feet, and the height of the building along Executive Drive is reported to be 46.76 feet.
Okay, you used the term, it's a spec warehouse, am I correct?
That's correct.
And can you elaborate on what the term spec entails? In other words,
it means speculative.
Speculative, okay. So would you be at liberty to tell us what type of lessees would be able to occupy that space?
I would object. At the last meeting, Mr. Zeman testified, those questions were asked and answered, and Mr. Zeman was the appropriate witness to answer those questions, which he did at the last meeting.
I'm sorry, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I wouldn't know that. Thank you for your clarification. One final question. At which point in the process you testified that you do not have any clients to occupy the building at this time? When do you foresee where there would be a client available so we could know who might be moving in?
Again, Mr. Zeman testified at the last hearing and indicated that until the building is approved and construction is underway, they probably will not have a client until that time, because clients do not sign up until they know the building's going up.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, last questions.
Vadim Nazarchuk, 16 Dortmunder Drive, Manalapan, New Jersey. Regarding that easement, so if I park towards the new building, warehouse, will it be trespassing? Executive Drive between new building and chapel and whatever, museum, yeah. Will it be trespassing, is it easement?
There will be an easement that allows...
Yes. Can you please explain, what does it mean? It's only drive or to cover the park?
An easement will allow folks that are parking in the parking lot around the museum building to utilize this road in order to access it.
Yeah, what about the other side, along the new warehouse? Can we park there?
No. There's no car parking proposed there for the warehouse employees or for anybody.
I think the question is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're asking if somebody was to park in the parking lot next to the warehouse.
Yes.
Would that be considered trespassing, or could they park there because there's that easement?
It depends on the terms of the easement, which has not yet been agreed to.
The only thing that I understand is agreed to is an access easement, that the church will use their 82 parking spaces, and we will use the parking spaces for the warehouse. We've had discussions that if there's a need on an occasion for the church to use the warehouse parking and it's available, we may provide it to them. But basically, at this juncture, it's an access easement only.
So we don't know yet, right?
I think I answered the question. Right now, we are providing an access easement from the driveway on the warehouse site to the church.
So it will be a trespass, right? Yes or no? What is I don't know what does it mean we provide an easement.
Let's try the third answer. It hasn't been determined yet.
Okay. And the second question, if you would have a chance to plan it from scratch, would you place such beautiful building which has museum, library to the edge of the property and surround it with one car driveway around it, or you would place it in the middle, a little bit further away from the edge of the property? You just chopped entire half of the property and put it at the edge of the, referring that there is, it satisfies the official offsets, which is designed to for every house. I think it's well. I think there is no room enough. You are leaving not enough room around this building.
Again, that's an opinion. He's not asking a question.
The question was, if you had the chance to design it again, would you place it, that building in the corner of the property?
This is where I designed it.
Do you think it's normal to put it at the edge of the property?
It is not on the edge of the property. It meets all of the setback
It is one
requirements.
car away from the edge, from the borderline. Then there's the car. So I assume no, right? Or yes? Thank you.
Okay, that's it for this meeting. Save your questions for the next one. We have to reschedule for another hearing. Let's come to a date, like it convenient for Mr. Bernstein's schedule to be here. Want to keep the same attorney for consistency. He deserves it.
Eric, that you want to be on the second meeting, right?
There are no
That's
more
when you come?
questions, sir. We're closed.
Preferably,
There are no more questions, sir.
The next meeting that we have available is Thursday, January 8th.
I'm refereeing elsewhere.
Right, so I'm saying you wanted it to be the next one that you're available, and I think that would be the 22nd is yours, right?
I'll make myself
Oh,
available.
you want to make a special meeting?
That's okay with you?
Yes.
If it has to be, if that's the first available date.
What?
1 minute, let us decide, and I'll make the full announcement for you guys. Just,
What date is it, Eric?
January 22nd?
right, because the
Next
first
hearing will be
Thursday.
January 22nd. It'll
All right,
be,
Bob, I'll do it. Is that what you want, Eric? Okay.
it will be here in this room,
Yeah.
and there's no further notice, correct?
We're seeking a motion, Mr. Chairman, to continue this application without further notice to Thursday, January 22nd, 2026 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard at 2301 Route 27 in Somerset, New Jersey, without any further notice.
All right, is there a second?
And heed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Record, Mr. Bernstein, if you need an if the board needs an extension, I will grant it.
I would suggest you grant a lifelong one.
Now live long enough to see.
Based on tonight, you got, how many more witnesses?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourn.